Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Imperfect Marketing. I'm your host, Kendra Corman, and today my guest is Annelise Worn. Annalise empowers digital business owners to create true freedom in their lives by building systems into their businesses. And as we all know, systems are really important to scale. Now, one of the interesting things that I think is very interesting about Annalise is when she started her agency, she had no idea how to run a business and created a virtual prison for herself. Annalise, welcome. Tell me more about this.
Thanks for having me, Kendra. Yeah, it was not good. I think so many of us start this way, right? At least a lot of the women that I speak to, we start a business because for me, I wanted to be home with my children more. And, or maybe we have a skill or something that we want to bring to the world. And so we start our business based on that. And then we realize that's such actually a small piece and we need to learn all of these other things like marketing and finance and leadership and all of the things. And I, at the start, just said yes to everything. And because I wanted to build my business. So I did. I said yes. If I was like, yes, and figure it out later. That was my motto. And I didn't charge enough to be able to hire really good people to be able to take that on. I had support, but they were junior and they couldn't, something went wrong or really, I just set it up in a way that was not serving me. And yeah, that's where I landed, like drowning in client work, literally. And I couldn't stop to actually change things, or at least that's what I felt. And yeah, I felt like I was in this prison and it was like this never ending, oh my gosh, like raining client work. I've said, I'm going to do this thing. I have integrity. I'm going to do this thing, even if it means I'm going to kill myself. And then one day enough was enough. And I actually stood back.
That's fantastic. I think most of us starting businesses, at least I'll speak for myself, definitely started, we undercharged. We
Mm,
said yes to everything. We were all things to all people, right? And tried to really figure out where our niche was without any plans for actually starting to narrow into that niche until we reach a point where we're about to break. I think that's pretty standard across the entire entrepreneurial culture, or at least the female entrepreneurial culture for sure.
yeah.
So, because that was one of the issues that I had was that I had all this client work and I didn't charge enough to be able to hire somebody to do some of the tasks that I was doing. Because a lot of them were for small businesses and nonprofits, and I wanted to make sure that they were happy.
Yeah.
And then I was over serving them, which made them devalue what I was giving them. It was
Yeah.
crazy,
It's a
right?
horrible cycle. And we do it because we care and we want to do a good job. It's to be.
Yeah. I've had a couple clients where I go above and beyond for them. And then they're like, "Where's your time going?" And I'm like, I just worked my holiday for you. What?
Yeah.
What do you
I
mean,
just stayed
where's
up till two
my
o'clock in the morning and got up at 6 a.m. to be on a call with you. Yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah, exactly. So much for that flexibility you were trying to build in to spend more time with your kids.
Totally. That was the thing that really pinched hard. I was like, oh, like I failed, actually. I started for more freedom and I now have the worst boss in the world, and it's myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
My husband says I have a mean boss too. So let's talk about this scaffolding that you built and what it was that helped you.
Yeah. So I had been teaching, funnily enough, and ironically enough, a 7 system framework to my clients. And it has the 5 typical business systems in there that you would expect, having a marketing system, a sales system, service delivery, a people kind of system, and finance and legal. I just put in one bucket because that is not my it's the stuff that as creatives we often don't love to do, but we need to do it. So those 5 systems, but well-being and impact are the 2 other systems that I started actually prioritizing. I said that I had them and I was, but I just was working way too many hours. And at the time, I had 4 young children. I think one was really young, like newborn ish. My husband was building our house, so not there a lot. Like it was just one of those seasons that you're like, oh, okay, I've created, look what I've done. This is all self-imposed. But those well-being system, having well-being as a focus in my business and impact was the thing that helped to really define what it is that I needed and didn't need in my business. And what I mean for impact, for me, it's about building a having a socially conscious vision for the business. Whether, like for us, we give a percentage of profit. We also we do pro bono work for a couple of charities. So that's what it looks like in our business. But it doesn't matter what it looks like for you, as long as, like for me, I think we need some sort of bigger purpose there. And tying that to our business activity, for me, then helped me to realize that there was a reason I was building the business, not because I, wanted a Lamborghini or like the next Gucci handbag or whatever. And if that's what you want, amazing, go you, good thing. But for me, that was like, what am I trying to build this for? So I needed that in there. And then actually building that in first and going, okay, so what is going to fill my cup so that I can give the best to my clients and actually do a really great job and be the mother I want to be and be the wife I want to be and the friend, all of those hats that we wear. And so I built that in. I was like, okay, these are the non-negotiables. This is when I want to exercise. This is when I'm taking date night. This is when I'm having white creative space. And then saw what was left rather than trying to squeeze those things in last. And that meant that I had to say goodbye to clients that were just draining my energy, the ones that we over deliver for that don't appreciate us. I had to say goodbye, which was really hard for me as a total people pleaser. And then I upsold other clients. And so I expanded what we were doing, or I changed our fees slightly, or I decreased what we were doing but keep the rate the same. Like I just worked around with the figures with the clients I loved to work with, but really just scaled back, got rid of team that I didn't need because I'd said goodbye to clients. So I was just really smart about what's actually profitable. Like, where's the fat here? Where's the stuff that energizes me? What can I do that I love doing that is going to make me the money that I need to be only working in these spaces that I've said that I want to work? For me now, that's only 2 to 3 days a week. I'm homeschooling my children the other half. Like, that's where I needed to get to. And that was how I did it. So at the start, saying goodbye to clients and just restructuring pricing and upselling where I could.
I love that. Saying goodbye to clients is a very hard thing. I've had to do it for several clients. One, I told her, I was like, you don't need me anymore. You need a digital VA. You're paying too much money for, and I'm not adding enough value, which was draining me because I was doing some data entry when I wanted to be doing more strategy because strategy is what fuels me, right? Similar to what you're talking about. And then there's other clients where I've just called and I've said, I just don't think I'm the right fit for you anymore. And that's a hard call to make because for whatever reason, especially if you believe in the business, because similar to you, I pick businesses and people that I think are making a difference and an impact. Some of them are nonprofit, some of them are for profit, but all of them are about making a difference. And overall, I think being good people, which is very important to me. So, how did you have those conversations? I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah. And for some, it was really scary. Like one was like 30% of our income. It was our biggest client. But it was draining. Like I would wake up and have messages and it would like, I'd have this anxiety, like this whole like crippling fear. But what is it now? What's broken? Because we were managing their entire business, like operations, administration, all of that, marketing, ads, all of the things. And it was just too much. It was the same as you. I had put myself as an assistant when I'm actually a CEO. And my team couldn't support them. And so I had to support them at that level. And that was just not working for either of us because that's actually not my skill set, is to be that detail oriented. I'm more vision, more strategy. So we put a plan in place and said, okay, as of the end of the year, which was, I think, 3 months, this is what we're going to decline. I'll be available for training as much as possible. From there on, we can do these tasks, which then actually still didn't. That was too tired. So then I ended up cutting that off. So over a period of about 6 months, we slowly offloaded like pieces of the business. So yeah, financially it was scary going, okay, like just trusting that the right things are going to happen here. And yeah, and they did, but it was just a slow process. So again, to uphold the integrity, to finish doing what I said I was going to do and not let someone down. But I guess there's no right answer of how you do that, right? Every business is going to be different, every situation is going to be different. But just for me, trying to make it fair for both parties was important.
Yeah, and I usually try to give as much transition as possible. One person, I think I gave 3 or 4 months notice. Another person, I gave 30 days notice. It's whatever's appropriate for them and their needs and their situation.
Yeah.
Because I think offboarding clients is just as, if not more important than how you onboard them.
Yeah. And some clients I'm still available for training and they'll hire me for an hour to come in and make sure that their team's on track and things like that. And that's great because, yeah, it wasn't anything that someone had any done specifically wrong. It was just the
Mhm.
structure was fundamentally broken. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But I think that's a testament to what you did and the fact that they could clearly understand what you were doing too, because you were probably clear in what that was and you helped them. You didn't leave them stranded anywhere, anything like that. And I think that's also key. Okay, so you talked about the 5 basic processes and then adding in your two for the seven. How do you help business owners create processes around those?
So what I like to do, and I think sometimes we can forget as we get into the day to day, it's really simple when you say it out loud. You'd be like, oh, yeah, of course. But to actually reverse engineer, like I did with the well-being, the life that you actually want to live, because we start our business because we want more freedom, right? More life. That's generally like in some, however you slice and dice it, that's why we want a business. So what does that actually look like? What is it? Is that for me, that's working 2 to 3 days a week, homeschooling my kids, living where I want to live, being able to travel, like those things, that's the life that I want to live for right now. And so, what do you need financially for that to happen? What do you need? What kind of work do you want to be doing? Actually, nutting out that offer and the people that you need to make that happen. Because I don't really know any business owner that wants to do every single thing in their business. Some at the start, we just have to. Often, if you don't have cash coming in, you have to. That's fine. We do what we have to do. But I don't know anyone who loves all five of those systems and wants to do it forever. So even if it's just you and one support person, actually crafting that organizational plan early based off how and when you want to work. And once you have that, okay, then I need X number of clients to support that. And so then putting a plan in place, going, well, if I need X number of clients, if I need 2 clients a month, then I need to be speaking to 6 clients a month. What does my marketing look like so that I get on the phone 6 times a month? And just start to keep reverse engineering, going, if that, then what? If that, then what? And that will get as simple as you can. I think so many of us are really guilty of being on social media and seeing people doing all of the things that have big teams and comparing ourselves and going, oh, now I need to do that. Oh, and now this week I need to be on Threads. I know this is coming out later, but like Threads has just come out. And oh, now I need to be doing this and I need to be. And actually, the simpler that you make it, the better you're going to be, the better results you're going to get. If you just have one way of getting in front of new people, one way of nurturing those people, and one way of selling, or one kind of core product that you're selling, initially start there and nail those 3 things and test with those 3 things. Everything as long as that supports that main goal of how many clients I want every week, month, whatever, that everything else will come off the back of that. But start at the end and then go right to the start and nail the marketing piece. And then you'll be able to figure out what systems you need.
I love that. I really do. I like the fact that you're talking about focusing because focusing is really important because we can't do all things. And then I love the note that you said about comparing yourself to all these people with these large teams. So I think there's a quote that says, do not compare your beginning to someone else's middle.
Yeah,
And I think
it's a
that
good
that's
quote.
so true because we do.
Mm.
And, like, I was scrolling through TikTok and somehow I got into this digital marketing, like, TikTok world where these people are making, "I made $10,000 before noon this morning selling digital products," and I'm like, "Huh?" And it's
Mm.
okay. And they're like, "Now I can take the rest of the day off, and I'm buying a new house." And it's like, you look at it, and it's one, I have no idea if that's true or not. But you look at the situation and you're like, what's going on? And you start comparing yourself and you'll be like, "Well, I didn't make $10,000 before lunch today." It can be stressful. The comparison is very stressful. How do you deal with that when you see things and you don't necessarily have the full context?
Yeah. I think too, we need to ask ourselves, do we actually want that? If we compare ourselves, like for me, I had to learn really early on. So when I started my agency, I was in this Facebook ads mastermind where I learned how to do Facebook ads. And I had, I think, 3 young children at the time and 2 or 3. And I was in this thing with primarily men, young men, like maybe 20-year-old men were the bulk of this cohort, which is great. But they had 20 hours a day to work on their agencies. And so they were like, they were hustling and getting all these calls and growing way quicker than I was. And then I started scrambling and I was working late and I was taking calls like from all over the world and I was being on calls with the UK and then the US. And you can hear by my accent, I'm in Australia. So that does not work if you want to sleep. And then I was like, hang on, I'm starting this business because I want to work 3 days a week. So why the heck am I working 7 days a week right now to try and grow this thing just because those people are trying to grow something entirely different? I don't actually want that empire. At that time, I think I wanted a couple of $100,000 like business. So I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, deep breath. What are we actually doing here? What mountain do I want to climb? And just making sure it's your mountain. And your mountain for now? Are you running after a dream that was 10 years ago and actually now your situation's changed and you don't really want that anymore? Like this week, actually, I realized I've been working towards this goal of running 10 kilometers. And I'm like, hang on, I don't care anymore. I used to do that. I used to be a runner. But right now, I'm not having fun. I don't like, oh, good, great, scratch that. Like, we just have to reassess, are we going after what we want or what someone else in the space wants or what society tells us that we want or to like please our parents or our spouse or our whatever? And going, hang on, what do we actually crave and what are our desires? And allowing ourselves to want those desires. And then putting blinkers on everyone else. Once you decide and going, no, this is my plan. Like, I like to create a 12-week plan because it's long enough to get some traction. It's short enough that you can sustain it. You can have the energy. And then going, this is the plan for those 3 months. So if that's a great idea, great. Table it for the next potential quarter. But this is my plan now. And decide and put the blinkers on and then go, yeah, I'm looking, but I'm not actually comparing myself. I'm not looking because I have my plan and I know what I'm out working right now. And we'll just put that on the shelf.
That's probably one of my favorites because I think that's one of the things that business owners do wrong is that shiny object syndrome. We're like, "Oh, okay, I'm not on Instagram, and now they've got Threads, so I should probably be on Instagram." And now they're gonna go and it's like, you've identified that your entire target audience is on LinkedIn. You
Exactly.
just stay there, keep going. You can start to experiment and do things as you go, but you can't abandon one tactic for another because you heard something on social media or in a networking event or whatever it happens to be. I'm a big fan. I have my full focus planner here right next to me. And I mean, it's a 12-week planner. I look at everything in 12-week increments because that's long enough to focus. And I love the idea of putting on the blinders because I definitely don't do that enough. And I do get shiny object syndrome quite often. But that's something that we need to look at. I started this year with a plan. I've added some things in, and then I started getting off track and was all excited and creating all of these different downloadables and freebies. And I was like, oh, yeah, because I love to create them. I could create them all day, every day, because it's like one of my passions. But then you got to sell something to pay for
Seriously.
eventually.
We
So
can
it
forget
just,
that.
exactly. So it's just a really good way of looking at it. So put those blinders on for 12 weeks at a time. Stick with your goals and your plan and make it happen because you know what you need. And if you like to experiment and know you have shiny object syndrome, do like I do, build in 10% room in your schedule and your time and your budget, or time or budget, either one, to do some experimentation. And that's really all you need. And it can fulfill that testing part of what you want
I love
to
that.
test out.
I love that. Get the variety in.
Yeah, because I know I need it. And so if I can limit it to 10%, then I'm good.
Yeah. I just recently put a timer on my Instagram because I was finding myself in a hole because I love marketing, right? I love looking at what people are doing and like looking at funnels. And I was like, oh, hang on. I could just totally get stuck here. I actually need to be pushed out of the app once I've done my thing. But I think too, recognizing that there's cycles in business and kind of treating it like the seasons. Like there's going to be times when you're sprinting towards a goal. There's going to be times when you're resting. There's going to be times when you are researching and you're creating. And then there's going to be times when you're just having that introspective time, but not thinking that you can research all the time or you can be in that zone. You have to, like everything in life, in nature, is cycles, and we can have the same in our business if we're going to have the best results. So choosing, when am I looking at what other people are doing? When am I not? When am I just looking inward and creating? When am I running to the finish line because I'm selling? When am I resting and not doing anything? And actually having all of those pieces in at the times that you choose keeps you so much more creative and innovative and energized and excited about what we're doing, because otherwise we can really get bored.
It does for sure. So I think that's a really great way to think about things. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've like time has been flying by and I'm like, oh wait, but there's more we can talk about. Because it's a really great way to think of things. And I know that as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and small business owners, we get overwhelmed. And it's 99.9% our faults. Take some time and think about it for sure. I think that's definitely the lesson, to take a look and add in system and processes around well-being and impact, because thinking about those as part of you and your business is really important. Before I let you go, Annalise, I do want to ask you the question I ask everybody who's a guest on the show. As we know, it's called imperfect marketing because marketing is anything but perfect. What has been your biggest marketing lesson learned?
My biggest lesson was, continues to be that it doesn't actually matter what I like. It doesn't matter what I like. It doesn't matter what the client likes. What matters is what your audience likes and needs to hear. And I think imperfect is the perfect way to talk about it, because even if we think it's perfect, if we put it out there and it doesn't get results, it's not perfect. And so I think as soon as you have something that is good enough, to take it to market and test it and hear what the market actually has to say, and then iterate from there, that strategy has saved me so many hours, because I don't need to worry about it and polish it fully. I can go, "Oh, okay, they want more of this. Great. Now we pull it back in. Now we make the tweaks. All right, let's put it out again." And we let the market tell us because ultimately it's their opinion that matters, not ours.
100%. Knowing your target audience is so, so important. And I think almost, I would say 80 to 90% of my podcast episodes go back somehow to target audience. But that is the core. I think that is the foundation for everything that you do. Because if you don't have them in mind, you're not going anywhere.
Mm.
And I think that's really
Yeah.
important to remember and keep in mind.
Yeah. And often it's the one that surprises me. Like still 6 years into doing this, I'll be like, okay, this and this. I'm like, what, that one? That one? I think it's the best registrations. Okay, then. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yes. I'm always surprised. It's, oh, this edited, really nice, pretty image that my graphic artist did is not performing as well as this handheld video that I held in front of my monitor. Like
totally.
Siri, and
The
it's shaken.
snapshot with the blurry photo of me at the beach. Awesome.
Exactly, right? So I think it's important again to keep your target audience in mind always. I feel like I'm a broken record because I say that almost every episode. But hopefully you can understand your audience so that you can give them stuff that's going to resonate and that they're going to enjoy. And thank you again, Annalise, for coming, for being a guest on Imperfect Marketing. I do appreciate it. For those of you listening, I hope that you learned something today. I know I did. I got a fresh perspective and definitely a refresh on some things I should be working on. So I do appreciate your time. If you learned anything, please do me a favor and rate and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. It would really help me out. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on another episode of Imperfect Marketing.